8 candidates from the administration-backed Alianza para sa Bagong Pilipinas remain in the top 12 of the latest Social Weather Station senatorial survey. ACT-CIS Representative Erwin Tulfo continues to lead the poll with 45% voter preference. Now, trailing behind are re-electionist Senators Bongo and Lito Lapid, followed by former Senate President Tito Soto and broadcaster Ben Tulfo. Senator Bong Revilla saw a significant jump in rankings, moving from 11th place last month to a tie for 6th to 7th with re-electionist Senator Pia Cayetano. Now, completing the top 12 are re-electionist Senator Bato de la Rosa, former Senators Ping Lacson and Manny Pacquiao, Makati Mayor Abby Binay, and TV host Willie Revillame. The poll, conducted from February 15 to 19, interviewed 1,800 registered voters nationwide. To talk about this and to further discuss the latest survey, we have with us on the show political scientist Julio Teehankee joining us via Zoom. Magandang umaga. Welcome to Morning Matters.
Magandang umaga, Gretchen. Good morning. Congratulations on your new show.
Thank you.
And thanks for having me.
Okay, Professor, let's take a look at the latest
Yes.
SWS survey. This was dated February 15 to 19, after the start of the national campaign period. What stood out for you?
Oh, well, we're just a month into the official campaign period for the Senate, for the senatorial midterm election. And the latest SWS strat-based survey on the senatorial election is consistent, no, in terms of the early favorites, just like in the previous SWS strat-based surveys, and also consistent with the other results of the other survey firms, no. You know, the advantage of having at least multiple polling firms doing this is that we can verify and we can cross-check. And we can see some early patterns with regard to at least the first 5 consistently topping the polls thus far, no, in the early round of the midterm campaign. So far, we have the consistent top 5 candidates, and they also performed well in the other survey results, no, in the past months, leading to the official launch of the campaign. So the consistent top-notcher is, of course, Congressman Party List Representative Erwin Tulfo, and then Bongo, Lito Lapid, Tito Soto, and Ben Tulfo. No? And then we can also say that there are the next 5, the competitive candidates who are somehow there, but their rankings and their survey results are somehow turbulent, no, because they go up and down. No? Like, for example, Bong Revilla, who's been a consistent top-notcher in previous elections, is surprisingly underperforming, no, in the early surveys. No? So his numbers have risen and then fallen drastically. And then, of course, you have Pia Cayetano, Ping Lacson, Abby Binay, Manny Pacquiao, and Bato de la Rosa. But what we can say is that there are very good performers who are rising. No? They were at the bottom of the heap, and then their numbers are consistently going up, and at a very, very consistent and well-managed pacing. No? Like, for example, Willie Revillame. No? And, of course, Kiko Pangilinan is also making some headway. The precarious ones are those who, surprisingly, have spent so much already in the campaign, and yet they have failed to enter the Magic 12. No? And these are brand names by themselves. No? Like, for example, Senator Amy Marcos, and then Camille Villar, Benhur Tulfo, Benhur Abalos, who has been guesting in practically all the teledramas, and and yet he has failed to enter the Magic 12. And then, of course, incumbent Senator Francis Tolentino and independent candidate Bam Kim.
Okay, you talked about the top 5, the consistent top 5. Would there be
Yes.
a common link amongst them as to, to probably provide an explanation as to why they're topping the surveys?
Yes. Of course, we know that these are established political brands. No? They're either re-electionists or comebacking candidates, except for the Tulfo brothers. No? And the Tulfo brothers is, of course, an outcome of the Tulfo phenomenon, which is also an indication of the growing influence of social media. And we have seen this in the previous electoral cycle in 2022, in which Senator Raffy Tulfo made it to the top, of the senatorial election. And he indeed represented a phenomenon based on his popular public service program, both on social media and on legacy media. So, yeah, and then you have also the right mix of air, ground, and social media campaign. So, for example, with Senator Bongo, while he is identified with the opposition, uh, the de facto opposition as of now, the Duterte-led opposition, he is, of course, identified with the former President Duterte, but he has established his own network of malasakit centers, of which has helped him a lot in his re-election bid.
Well, Professor, a curious case to me is Senator Lito Lapid. In another survey, medyo bumaba siya. Pero dito nasa
Yes.
top 5 siya. I mean,
Yes.
nakikita ko it's the same names in different surveys dun sa top 12, pero paiba-iba yung pwesto, ano? Does it
Yeah.
indicate, the volatility of this list that
Yes.
anything could change in the next months?
Definitely, no. We are just in the early part of the campaign, no. Kumbaga sa palabas nasa first act pa lang tayo, no, at wala pa tayo sa main event, no. So ang kailangan tignan din natin dito is consistency in terms of messaging and narrative, no. The reason why the top 5 have been consistent is because they have been consistent with their branding, no, and their messaging. And there is no dissonance between what they project to the public and who they really are. No? So there's some authenticity, perhaps, no, which is a very major currency now in the world of social media. No? You have to be organic, you have to be authentic. No? Pag nakita ng taong bayan or ng mga botante na hindi ka totoo at plastic at hindi consistent yung messaging mo, medyo nadedehado pa. No? So, especially now that the name of the game really has become winnability, no, Gretchen, no? In the past kasi, we keep on saying that the midterm election is a referendum on the incumbent. That may have been true during the very first midterm election nung post-EDSA 1, no, nung 1995 midterm election, and even during the 2007 midterm election at the height of the Hello Garci. So that was a referendum on the legitimacy of the GMA. Okay? But since 2010, the natural trend in terms of senatorial campaigns and elections has always been winnability. No? Ang consistent na naglaland sa top 5 at more or less, if you are in the top 5, no, medyo secured ka na, no, at medyo malaking kamalasan na lang, no, kung nasa top 5 ka na, top 6 at malalaglag ka pa at hindi ka mananalo.
So medyo shoe-in na itong top 5, oo. Pero I'd like to zone in.
They just need to maintain, no? They maintain what they're doing and work harder to keep their positions.
I'd like to zone in on what you call the precarious candidates, Senator Amy
Yes.
Marcos. We have also Congresswoman Camille Villar. Have they not been consistent? I mean, we see their ads all over. Although si Senator Amy Marcos minsan ang naturingang namamangka sa dalawang ilog. But now, in another survey, she actually gained some points because of her probably consistently defending the vice president. I mean, what do you see with these two candidates? And also the number 11 and number 12, that's Manny Pacquiao and Abby Binay.
Of course.
Abby Binay and Willie Revillame, rather.
Willie Revillame. So, the problem with the Amy Marcos campaign and the Camille Villar campaign is that of mixed messaging. No? So, medyo there's a gap between the perception and the reality. No? For example, Senator Amy Marcos is a Marcos. And yet, she's very critical of her brother, who is the incumbent. And at the same time, she is perceived to be siding with the VP, Sara Duterte, and the Dutertes in general. No? So talagang, dun pa lang, no, mata-turn off na sa'yo yung mga supporters ng kapatid mo. At the same time, hindi ka naman pagkakatiwalaan ng lubusan ng mga supporters ng mga Duterte. So, and at the same time, she's been trying several catchphrases and slogans like yung "I Me Solution", no? But it's too dispersed, no? Walang common thread yung narrative niya. Ano ba talaga, di ba? So, kasi hindi naman niya pwedeng sabihin na pagbabalik ng mga Marcos dahil nakabalik na ang mga Marcos, di ba? So, she has to do some course correction kasi the same with Camille Villar, no? If you insist on saying that you're bagong boses, bagong mukha, my God, you're a member of one of the top dynasties in the country. No? So, bagong boses, bagong mukha sa loob ng dinastiya, no? So, inconsistent, no? So, kailangan mag-isip-isip sila. Ang masaklap kasi sa kampanya nila, Gretchen, is that they have spent so much already. Hindi pa man nagsisimula yung campaign. If we're going to believe the reports of the Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism, they've spent around $1 billion already or more. And yet, they have failed to land in the top 12. So yun yung dangerous sa position nila. So they still have time to do some course correction. With regard to Willie Revillame, no, we can really see that he has a base. No? He has a base, no? Because of all the years he has been on television in practically all the major networks. So he is consistent. But the problem is, can he maintain his position within the survey on sheer popularity alone? So will this be a repeat of the Bong Revilla Buduts, no substance, all entertainment campaign? Or even the Robin Padilla phenomenon of just singing Wonderful Tonight? No? Masusustain ba ni Willie yung ganung klaseng kampanya? Natawa ka, Gretchen.
Hindi, kasi naalala ko ang sinabi niya lately, sa interview namin, sinagot niya na wala pa siyang naiisip na ipapanukalan yung batas dahil hindi pa naman siya nananalo. Ngayon, sinabi niya, wala nga siyang alam, pero wala siyang alam sa pagnanakaw, pangungurakot, at iba pa. Pero nabanggit niyo na rin yung PCIJ, ano? Let me bring out some graphs that was released by PCIJ, putting together the Pulse and SWS surveys together to establish a trend. So, mukhang wala yata, no? Pero nandun, sa PCIJ, yung pages niya, nakita kasi na parang gumaganon. Ito, nakikita na natin. How do we begin to interpret this? I mean, when we take a look at these surveys and meron iba na parang pataas lang, may iba na pa-curve na ganyan. Actually, mostly are like that. So, when we take a look at this, how do we interpret this?
Buti na lang tinanong mo, no? Because this is an innovation on the part of PCIJ, and I would like to thank PCIJ for coming up with this. But this is nothing new, no? This has been consistent in other elections in other countries. Like, for example, in the United States, you have websites that actually do this. This is called aggregation, no? This is also known as survey of surveys, no? So we have consistently, the two oldest survey firms, no, is SWS and Pulse Asia, and more or less they have been quite accurate, no, in their previous performances, contrary to the detractors, no, medyo consistent. And then you have others, no. So at least trying to aggregate the results and comparing the results of both SWS and Pulse Asia gives us a clear idea of the gives us an idea of whether these survey results are truly reflective of the sentiments of the public. No, remember, surveys. This has always been the case. No, surveys are snapshots of a particular moment in time, so it has a shelf life. No, so what is important really is to track the ebbs and flows of the survey performances. And then if we verify and cross-check it with another survey firm and several survey results, then we come out with a clearer picture the authenticity of these polling numbers.
Okay, the COMELEC has just come up with the new rules for surveys that they do need approval from COMELEC before or participating in this. And there's also that perennial argument over the reliability of surveys and its tendency to mind condition. I mean, how do we know which ones are reliable, which ones tell you the real pulse of the nation? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have been looking at SWS surveys and even Pulse Asia surveys for quite some time already, close to 2 to 3 decades. No, SWS being the longest, the oldest running survey in the country, and more or less they've been quite accurate in their results. No, so contrary to what others would say that it's rigged or it's part of the cheating machine. It's not. No, I know the people behind these survey firms, and they're solid academics and intellectuals of academic integrity. So, having said that, the other issue, well, it depends. No, like for example, in France, uh, there is a moratorium. During the last week or last 2 weeks of a campaign, surveys are banned. No, I think in other countries in Asia they have adopted that system as well. And then you have also in the United States, free for all. No, in fact, surveys have already, even the mainstream survey firms in the United States have failed to call the first and the second Trump wins. No? Medyo nagkamali din sila. No? So, yeah, that's the uh, that's the story. And now COMELEC, of course, being the main constitutional body that has been given the power to oversee elections in the Philippines, has an interest in trying to regulate the release of surveys. But at the same time, uh, there's also that academic freedom because most of the survey firms are run by academics, no, intellectuals, no, and then the right of the public to know, no. So you have the COMELEC has to balance, no, the the dangers, no, or the fear of mind conditioning at the same time, uh, protecting the freedom of academics to do their surveys and the freedom of the public to know, no, the actual state of play in a particular electoral campaign.
Well, let's talk about another issue that is hanging over the midterm elections, which is the impeachment trial. And of course, that whole debate of when to start it or to delay it after the SONA. How do you think this has influenced the numbers? For example, Octa's survey showed nominal improvement in Duterte's numbers, a +2, and a slight cut in Marcos's numbers, -3. Why do you think that is? Do you think pagdating sa impeachment, ayaw muna pag-usapan niya ng taong bayan, mas matunog ang budget? Ano po ang pulso niyo dito?
Okay. Kasi this is the third time, no? And what most observers and political pundits have failed to see is that we are in the midst of another political crisis. And this is the impeachment. No? First time that a sitting vice president has been impeached. And yet it coincides with the midterm election. This is the third time. The last time this happened was in 2001, no? The midterm election right after EDSA Dos. The second time it happened was in 2007, the midterm elections that happened right after the Hello Garci scandal. Now, the first one, the 2001 midterm election, legitimized EDSA Dos, no? Because there was a landslide victory for the People Power Coalition. That was the administration slate of then President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. But in 2007, the legitimacy of President Arroyo's second term was questioned, and it was reflected by the almost landslide victory of the opposition, the united opposition. So that was these are examples of political crisis being resolved by a midterm. So this same can be said about the current ongoing impending political crisis, which is the impeachment. Over and above the legal questions that we have to, we have to wait for the Supreme Court to decide on, what is certain is that there are two major blocs who are fighting tooth and nail, for political survival. So you have, of course, the administration, bloc, and they have the incumbency advantage, and history is on their side because it's a rule of thumb that in a midterm election, the advantage would always be on the incumbent because they have access to resources and the machinery. On the other hand, and they have access to ayuda, let us not forget. On the other hand, you have an opposition that used to be a member of the coalition, but now standing as the de facto opposition, PDP-Laban and the Duterte forces. And yet, you still have a very popular former President Duterte and an also popular daughter in the person of Sara. And they are quite popular in their own regional bailiwick in Mindanao and parts of Visayas. So we are seeing this clash of two political elite blocs, with two de facto opposition. You have the Duterte forces and then the hard left, the Makabayan bloc. And now the former pink-yellow forces are positioning themselves as independents.
And taking a look at that, kung may dalawang nag-umpugang bato rito na medyo nakakalito na kasi meron na tayong incumbent, meron tayong opposition, meron tayong alternative opposition, meron pa tayong independent, meron tayong progressives. Does that provide a chance for the so-called independents to break through here and to make a miracle? We have Kiko Pangilinan at number 15, consistently at number 15. Ba Makino 16, 17 naglalaro yan. What could they take advantage if you were advising them on the campaign trail?
Well, to paraphrase nga yung oft-quoted saying ni Napoleon Bonaparte, never disturb your enemies while they're making a mistake. So kung ikaw nga, katulad ni Kiko, wala ka namang interest kung sino ang mananalo sa umpugan ng dalawang higante, tumabi-tabi ka lang muna and just continue campaigning. Yun ang and then the progressives can continue to criticize both, kasi progressives nga sila, especially the Makabayan bloc, that is their role, and in fact they are the alternatives, yung progressives, the reformers, and even the independents, kasi we have already experienced life under the Dutertes and then we are experiencing the return of the Marcoses. So if you're the type who's not satisfied with the state of affairs right now in the state of our country, then you have a choice. And if you are one of those voters who are against dynasties, against trapos, against celebrities, then you vote for the non-dynasties, the non-celebrities, the non-trapos.
It seems that that is a whole conversation altogether, which will probably take us a full hour, but we'll take you up on that the next time. In the meantime, maraming salamat for sharing with us your insights and helping us understand the latest survey. We have political scientist Julio Teehankee.
Thank you, Gretchen.